The research team also derived calculations to determine the metabolic cost of the body and brain. In addition, they found that for any specific number of brain neurons, a larger body requires longer feeding hours.
In order to reach their daily calorie requirement, hominid species and great apes must feed for 8 hours a day. Historically, spending more than 8 hours per day feeding is not viable for any primate. As the research team points out in Figure 5, the Homo genus could not have survived on a diet composed primarily of raw food, as this would necessitate 10 or more hours of feeding per day. Thus, the evolution of a cooked diet is explained. When energy intake and expenditure are scaled against increasing body mass and number of neurons, metabolism is a limiting factor in brain growth on a raw food diet. The increase in neuronal mass is proportionally more significant for primates of larger masses. Adding the necessary neurons for a gorilla to achieve a brain 2% of its body mass would require 122 billion neurons and a 2-hour feeding time increase. Considering that gorillas already spend about 10 hours feeding, this time is most likely already at its maximum. In this context, we can see that a change in diet would drastically increase the amount of energy input and lead to a massive expansion in brain size.
To sum everything up, the increase in calorie intake led to a selection pressure being put upon larger brain sizes. The increase in calories was due to a shift to cooked diets in certain primates, which led to less time and energy that used calories for scavenging and more calories for neuron formation, which is directly related to brain size. The statistical sets of data that we have shown support this notion. And this is the biggest takeaway from the presentation. We attempted to use literature to provide an explanation as to why humans have evolved the way they have, and other similar primates have evolved differently. Basically, studies like this help explain why we have ended up the way we are today. A combination of circumstantial events and evolution have ensured that humans have the brain size that they do.
Created using Powtoon.